The National Building Code does not reference any wall systems for shipping containers. Therefore, we have to utilize the sum of the materials method, which means you take the fire rating of the drywall, the fire rating of the plywood, you add it together, and that's the fire rating of your wall system. Back in 2008, some ASTM standard testing was performed on unmodified shipping containers by the National Portable Storage Association, and obviously they failed. So the real question is not, are shipping containers fireproof? It's why did these structures fail and what is it that we can do to improve them? Most people see a steel shipping container and think, how could it not be fireproof? From the outside, it looks like it could withstand a wildfire or even a series of blasts. But the first thing to fail is not the steel. What people often don't realize is the undersides of shipping containers are coated with a bitumen floor coating that is very flammable. So when a wildfire comes up to these things, that is the first thing to ignite. And when that lights on fire, it burns the entire plywood floor and fills the interior of these things with smoke. So in this video, we're gonna take a 20-foot shipping container and modify it for a fire-rated wall system that satisfies the National Building Code. The first step to this build is addressing the floor. We already talked about the floor being wood, being an issue, and that bitumen coating underneath. So what we can do to improve that, in this instance, we needed to insulate underneath the shipping container. And so we did 2 inches of spray foam under there, and then we can apply an intumescent coating. What is an intumescent coating? That is basically unreacted foam. It's a fire barrier for the foam and often utilized in Quonsets and stuff where they spray foam. So what happens is when that's exposed to heat, that foam starts to caramelize almost, and it creates a protective layer, and then finally that foam will ignite after about 20 minutes. And so on top of that 20-minute fire rating, what we can also do inside of here is add additional layers of fire protection. And so there's no point in removing the solid wood floor. That is a very durable wood floor, and that's something that we can work off of. And so what we've done is we've taken a 1/2 inch of cementitious layer and laid that on top of the wood, and then 3/16 steel checker plate flooring. And we've seam welded that everywhere. So that is a fully sealed steel structure on top of the wood flooring. And that is something that's accepted by all engineers and architects when we're modifying shipping containers as a fire-rated floor. Where I've failed in the past is utilizing just drywall underneath this, but drywall can really wick moisture. So we try to use a more moisture-resistant cementitious layers, like a cement board or a shower cement board. Now for the wall system, it should go without saying that you shouldn't frame with wood studs. My engineers refer to them as dead tree carcasses, and they're very flammable, and you don't want that in a wall system that's supposed to be fireproof or fire rated. So in this build, what we've utilized is steel studs. Steel studs are totally the way to go in all mods inside of shipping containers. Why would you have a steel structure and then switch back to wood? In my opinion, that's silly. And so when we frame with steel studs, we actually have 2 products here. These are my products, full disclaimer, and these are steel stud brackets. What I love about them is they define your interior wall planes, ceiling plane, and end wall plane right in the product. But there's 2 different types, and that's for a reason. One of them is made out of aluminum, and aluminum is a thermal bridge, meaning that heat can transfer through this. And if I have to go and get this wall system tested and spend all this money for the rest of the planet, I might fail the test with this aluminum. And so these composite steel stud brackets are made with a glass-filled nylon resin. This is about as strong as plastic as I could have possibly chosen. And what the theory is it's just gonna kind of melt and drip instead of transferring heat through it. And so this bracket right here plays a crucial role in this wall system, and it is the first step. And so what we do is we mount this up to the top tubing of the shipping container, and it holds the top track for the wall studs. In that, we can snap in all of the wall studs and install a bottom track down at the floor, and now we have this thing framed normally, just as you would with any steel stud wall. Then going across the roof, because we have to span horizontally and we're fighting gravity, we utilize a 2.5 inch steel stud there. And so all of these studs get locked inside of that spray foam, and it is now a very rugged structure. So after we've steel studded the container, we install our door pre-spray foam. And what's special about fire rating of wall systems to doors is that if you want a 2-hour fire rated wall system, you only need a 90-minute fire rated door. And so that is what we have here. And what's very important about the fire rating of the door is that you need panic hardware and a self-closing device. Then the next step now is our interior wall coverings. With this specific unit, this is the first time we did 3 layers of interior. We have first the 5/8 Type X drywall. And with that, we fire caulked all the seams. So instead of mudding and taping all the seams, you can use fire caulking. That allows you to use the full fire rating of that 5/8. Then there's a new product, and it's an amazing product, is fire rated plywood. If you see the pink plywood everywhere, or a lot of times there's pink floor joists, they have a, I guess, fire retardant chemical that's on there that allows that now to be a fire rated substrate. And then the final layer, that in this specific instance is a Class A flame spread interior wall paneling. It's a PVC wall paneling. And then one thing people don't really think about or remember is this whole container is a steel structure all within itself. It is a 16 gauge corrugated seam welded structure, and that is not even accounted for within this wall assembly. And that is something that our industry should be getting tested. We should be trying out different wall systems and sending them off for the $10,000 to $50,000 tests and seeing how fire rated they are. So the industry has done a fire test on shipping containers before, but just a non-insulated shipping container. That means that they've exposed straight steel to a bunch of flames, and of course it kicked off the sensors within minutes. This specific structure is going to be a fire pump house, so it is very important. It is the last line of defense at a mine site. So being that there's going to be two massive water tanks in here and a giant pump, there's going to be moisture in here, and that is why we choose this PVC wall covering. This stuff is amazing, and it has been tested, but only individually. What I would love to see is tests as a full wall system, and this being a part of it, and how did it help in that scenario. And I cannot find anything on that. So if you guys know of anything, comments down below. So although we haven't fire tested this specific wall assembly, we've had containers out on rent, non-insulated containers that have been through wildfires, and we've been provided the photos afterwards, and I can see where the damage occurs, and it's typically on the floor, and that just creates additional problems. But the structures are still there. It's still a solid structure at the end of the day. So I know these things have the structural rigidity it requires to go through these tests and pass these tests, but someone needs to do it. We need to develop a building envelope that passes today's testing and up to today's standards inside of shipping containers. If the industry is looking for somebody to take on these tests, I think our team are well equipped and prime candidates to develop these wall systems, and it's something I can pledge to take on. But it'd be really lovely if the industry chipped in and we all shared this cost. So containers are not fireproof, but with the right wall structure, they can be fire resistant and code compliant. We need to come together and we need to fund the testing, and all these industries all around Canada and the United States can benefit from what we learn. In our next video, we're going to look at the ASTM standard testing performed on an unmodified shipping container, and I'll interpret those results. I'm very thankful that these tests have already been performed because it gives me a baseline to work off of. So if you want to follow that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and as always, I hope you learned something.